Are you thinking about creating an online course? Has that kind of rolled across your mind? But maybe you're not really sure where to start. And are you thinking that since you have your ideal client totally honed in on, that you're good to go because you know your audience? If that sounds like you, then stick around because today in this video, I'm going to cover something that most people don't talk about. It's called a learner analysis, which is different but similar to your ideal client. Hi there, my name is ALANDA Carter and I'm a professional instructional designer. I have a Master's of Science in Instructional Design and Technology. I also, when I put it all together with my classroom teaching and my professional experience as an instructional designer, I have over 20 years of experience. So what I'm bringing to the table is real life experience combined with the practical experience from my education. Okay, a learner analysis is a way of being able to dig into who your learner population is. It's a way of really kind of getting into their head. And I know if you already have your client avatar all figured out, you think you've gotten into their head, and to a degree you have, but you haven't done it from a learning perspective. And that's the big difference. It's one thing to have a client avatar. It's another to have kind of a profile of who your ideal learner is, what all of their characteristics are. And what I'm going to do for you is break it down into 4 different parts. Okay, part 1 consists of general characteristics. And this is where some of it is similar to your ideal client, your client avatar, because you're looking at things like where do they live, what is their background, are they male or female, age, what are their hobbies, those sort of things. But you also dig in a little deeper. And a little deeper would be things like, why would this course be of interest to them? What are they going to get out of it? Because all of this, when you're creating course, it's always about the person on the other side, who your learner is. It's always about what is in it for them. What are they going to get out of it? How are they going to use this information? How is it going to make their life better? All right, that brings us to part 2. Part 2 is all about prior knowledge. What does your audience already know about the topic you are going to teach? Think about anything they could possibly know. And you may want to consider, no, you absolutely should consider, what are the misconceptions they might have? Because once you really key in on what they already know, that gives you something that you can leverage, that you can build your course materials around. You want to be able to hook into known things so that people can build new knowledge based on what is known and comfortable. Part 3 is about multicultural issues. And typically, because we live in our own little world, our own little head, so we think about things from our own perspective. But when you're teaching other people, you need to think about multicultural type things. Are there any examples that you are going to use that are really cultural specific, or are you keeping everything in mind? Like, where other people are from, what their norms are, what they do. Will they be able to relate to you based on those examples that you are going to provide? If not, take a step back and think of what is something that is basically well known that anyone can relate to. And if you can't think of anything, think about what do you need to teach first before you use an example that somebody may not be familiar with. All right, so we've come to the last one, number 4, which is motivational factors. And this is something that people really tend to omit, but is really important because not only is it important for how people learn and what kind of drives them, but it's also something that you can leverage in terms of when you do evaluation for your course. Motivational theory, when applied to learning, I use Keller's ARCS, is probably the most well-known. ARCS, attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. And so in thinking about the motivational thing, you want to think about, how confident somebody is going to be based on your learning. Are you going to be able to hold their attention? What's going to hold their attention? How is the content relevant to them? And what can you do to help them be satisfied in the end when everything is finished and they have to walk away and apply these new concepts in their life? Okay, joke's on you. I fooled you. There's a fifth thing that's really important when you conduct a learner analysis, and that is learner preferences. You see, people learn things differently, so they need different ways to support them. So when you're creating a course, kind of getting an inventory of how people learn is going to help you. Now, when you start out, you're not going to have that inventory because you haven't had any students yet, right? However, over time, you can actually collect this information and you can create a survey on SurveyMonkey, send that out and be able to keep on collecting that data so you can look on what you've already done. Because anytime you create a course, I know there's this concept of evergreen courses, and personally, I have a thing against them only because you can't ever think that it's just done, because people are always going to trick you in some way, fool you in some way, because you think you get all the bases covered and bam, somebody comes along and asks something, or they're confused about something you hadn't thought before about, the content you're teaching. So when you consider, learner preferences and you keep that inventory going, it gives you more and more detail about the actual person who you are teaching and how they learn, so that when you update your course materials, because you will need to update your course materials, that's just how it is. Because if you just leave it, the way you did it the first time, you're probably going to be missing out on some stuff that you just didn't realize when you created the content, and that's okay. That's expected. That's how it always goes. But once you have this inventory, you can consider the instructional strategies that you have used and how you can improve that. And if you don't have any kind of, data right now, that's okay, because looking at what this is, because I do have a Fiverr gig that provides you all this information, and I will leave the link below, that when you have a learner analysis, just even knowing what that is, what the different statements are, that helps you think about the instructional strategies that you can use, actually the different types of activities you can use so that students have an opportunity to apply the concepts as they're learning. All right, that's all I have for you today about learner analysis. I hope you have found this helpful. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Share it with your friends, and be sure and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I have a new video. As always, thank you so much for being here, and I want you to remember this: change starts now.